Welcome to the channel, and in this video we're going to show you how I bought this property with none of my own money. So this is my first buy-to-let with no money whatsoever, and we're going to show you from part one where we went through the property and we walked through every aspect of it before it got to the point right now. And as you can see, there's a hell of a change. So stay tuned for the rest of this video. So there's no such thing really as a no money down deal. And the reason for that is that somebody's got to be putting in the money in. And even if it's not yourself, it needs to be either an investor's money or you're getting the money lent to you from private money. So that would be from the banks or other institutions that are going to lend you the money in the first place. So what we did here is using other people's money. And the idea behind that is that we're giving fixed percentage returns on the investment. And what we're essentially doing is giving them a better return than they're currently getting in the bank. Now, if you're getting barely anything in the bank and you're getting like 0.1 or something like that in the bank, then that's not really going to help you build wealth, right? And the people that lend us money are there to build financial security and to build wealth, but they don't want to invest in property. So the idea is that they're getting a security-backed asset that they're able to invest in. And what they're doing is using something called a CH1, which is a charge on the property. So essentially what that means is that when they have a charge on the property, they have first access to the money released from the property from when it's sold. So this is typically what would be taken by a mortgage company. They would have a first charge on the property when they actually lend in on it, and then you would have the rest of the money after the mortgage had been paid. Well, similar kind of situation for the investor. So in this case, they took a charge on this property, and what our plan is to pay them back on the refinance. So I'll talk about the numbers at the end of the video. And for right now, what we're going to do is show you through the property. So the first thing that you can see is the scope of this room. Now, originally what we had was two reception rooms. So the room we're standing in right now, which is the video you just seen, this was the first room, and then the second room was this one. So what we were able to do was open up the whole side of the property with an RSJ. So the RSJ is a rolled steel joist that holds up the main structure of the property. Now, this allowed us to have open plan living, and it's changed the whole scope of this room, and it's absolutely massive. I don't know whether it's really doing it justice on the camera, but 100% this has changed the whole layout, and it's made it look so much better and a lot more spacious. So the other thing that we did, as you could tell from the last video in part one, is what we were able to do is put a damp-proof course along the side of this wall. So what we were doing there, actually you can see really with this damp-proof course where everything has gone in. So the damp-proof course was about here, and the reason you can tell that is because the difference in color between the bottom and the top. So the difference is because of the damp-proof course, the water not absorbing in. So this plaster is new and fresh plaster that's been drying, and this will take longer to dry than this part of the plaster for that exact reason. What we did here as well is we created a porch area because we didn't want it open just straight into the room. So we created a small porch area, hoping to mitigate the cold, obviously being able to shut that off as well. We're going to have a radiator here, that's going to help. And for another reason, I'm going to show you in a minute when we go upstairs. There's going to be another radiator here. So at the moment we haven't got any radiators, which is causing an issue upstairs, which I'll show you just a bit. Come on through with me now over to the kitchen. So here we have it, the kitchen. It's been completely ripped out, and this is some materials that need to be shifted from another contractor, but he's managed to leave them for some reason. So what we've done is obviously strip out, get all the tiles off that were originally here, and now we are just about to start fitting the new kitchen. So we're just waiting on the designs, but we're definitely going to put a lot more storage space on the walls on both sides. Originally I was saying about potentially opening this part up. Unfortunately, what happened was there was trusses that were running along the bottom of here, so that didn't allow us to open up, and with the additional costs to do it, we thought there's no real point. At the end of the day, it's a buy-to-let, it's not where we're going to live, so we're not going to take the extra expense to do just that. I'll take you through over to the bathroom now. Now, one thing I didn't realize was how small really this room is, but we've started in here, ripped out the bath, ripped out all of the toilet and the sink and everything like that. All that's been ripped out, and we've installed a new boiler. So we didn't have to completely change all of the system, but we changed the actual boiler itself. So that was quite cost efficient to do in the first place. We got a good plumber to do that. And if you can see, it's going to be a backseat boiler, so a decent enough standard of boiler. You don't want to go over the top. As I said, it's a buy-to-let. We don't need to spend, you know, heaven and earth with the boiler, as long as it's going to work for a decent amount of time. And in most cases, I don't find that there's huge amounts of difference, but you're paying an extra premium in the price. So we just gone with a backseat boiler for this one. Now, before we go upstairs, I want to address a couple more things in this room that we did, which were unforeseen. So when we did open up this to open plan, one of the things that we noticed straight away was the level difference in the floor. So this was actually down different 3 levels over the space of this flooring. So the first room was down, and then this one was up, and then there was a different level then again over there. So that made a massive difference in terms of what we needed to do. So at that point, what we had to do is break down the flooring to make it as level as possible, and then self-level the rest of the flooring. But this is a very big room to actually do that. So to self-level the whole thing is quite a feat in itself. The other thing that we've got to do now, so there was a lot more plastering than we originally anticipated, but the numbers you've seen in the original video are exactly the same still. But generally what that meant is that we've done a lot more plastering, so it's looking a lot better though for it, and I think that it was a necessary thing that we needed to do in order to get it to the standard that we really wanted to. And especially for all our properties, we do try and do them to the highest standard we can, but with keeping within the budget, so no going crazy like, you know, like the backseat thing like I told you before. What we'll do now is we'll go upstairs and I'll show you the rest of the house. Now this room, again, as you would have seen on the previous video, has changed quite a bit. I don't know whether Gavin can put in the corner somewhere the previous video just to see a comparison on how things changed. But we have had to plaster again, as we said, a lot more than we were anticipating originally. A lot more needed for the walls, but ultimately it has made the difference. But generally, I mean, it's a room. We haven't really encountered too many problems. In the next room, you're going to see something that we did encounter that is something for you to see, especially helping you save a lot of your projects, and overall a really big thing that you need to look out for in properties that I wouldn't have necessarily even thought of looking for before as well. The plastering in here is still drying out, so as you can see there's a darker colour right here to the rest of the plastering, and that's because of that reason as well. But generally in the, you know, the main part of the landing, not so much change other than the fact that we've had to do a lot more heavier plastering than we originally anticipated. There's a couple of things that you can see in this room that really highlight a couple of problems that we did have. So the first one, and maybe we can cut to another roll of the issue with the ceiling. So the ceiling currently is covered in mold. Now, you might be wondering how on earth has that happened? It's a new property and everything like that. Well, not new property, but a lot of the work has been done and it's all new work, right? Now, the reason for that is because we didn't have any radiators that were functional at the time, so we were plastering, and then because of the, obviously, when you're using plaster, there's a lot of water that goes into the mixture, and because of that, obviously, it's evaporated and risen, and that's then caused the mold and issue there. So what we've been able to do then is, what the next step is at least, apply the mold solution and everything will be fine, and it basically just wipes off anyway, so not a massive issue. The other thing that I wouldn't have necessarily thought about before was the woodworm. So there was a woodworm issue that we had, and that was because, as I said before, the property had been left for 12 years, and woodworm had got into some of the furniture that was in this room specifically. Now, what that meant is that woodworm then got into the floorboards, and With that, we had to do a Woodworm treatment throughout. And that's a funny thing because I never thought really about the woodworm situation and treating it, but to be cautious, and good job that we suggested to do it. So you could actually see like where the woodworm had come up from when we put the solution down. So they made a massive difference, and if we had left that, the whole house could have come down, you know, or at least the second floor. Dangerous stuff. But it hadn't penetrated it that badly at that point, and it was just really superficial, but it could have been much, much worse. So we averted that disaster. I'm going to take you through to the next room now. We can see more of what we've done. This is the third and final room, and again, more plastering. But fortunately, this isn't going to add to the budget because we've been able to cut in other key places, keeping the budget under possibly less than what we originally estimated. So this is, you know, music to any investor's ears. Overall, what we've had to do is not let standards slip. So instead of obviously going for that and not doing it, we've gone and plastered right the way throughout, skimmed over the ceilings. But ultimately, what we're ready for now is getting that mold solution ready, getting the radiators in, and getting into the decorating. We've got the joinery to do in terms of the fixtures for the doors, and we've got to fit the kitchen. But overall, that's pretty much it. We've got the outside and the garden to do. Not something you want to do as a contractor in winter. It's going to be cold for them. But it needs to be done. We need to get that revaluation in, and we need to get that in order to push for that higher revaluation that we're going for our BRRR strategy. I'm going to take you through to the numbers right now. So here we are again, the all-important part, the numbers. I'm going to be breaking it down in even more depth than last time, showing you exactly how we were able to purchase it with none of my own money. So specifically, I'll go into the details and the mechanics around the deal so you can understand it a bit more. So the purchase price was $39,999. Now this was actually lent via the joint venture partner. So my joint venture partners were able to lend the money and in order to enable the purchase of this property. Then what we did was we got the costs of renovations and every other miscellaneous things like brokers' fees, solicitors' fees, and all that kind of stuff. That then came to $22,650. What I did then was get the seller to seller finance. So seller finance is a form of lending to us as a token as to the purchase of the property. So what they were able to do was lend £20,000 back to us in order to us to complete renovation works needed on the property. The target end value then being £115,000. Now, the market has moved considerably since my initial estimations of what it would be. So originally I was putting it at around 95, 97,000, but things have moved on. And one of the things that we did have is a not a very good solicitor. So your conveyancer is a really, really important part of your team. And if you haven't got a good one, then that can potentially risk your deal and other deals that you have in the pipeline. At the time, we had 2 deals that nearly fell out because of a slow conveyancer. We were able to change that conveyancer, and now we have an amazing conveyancer that works with us and has been an absolute game changer in the terms of completing quickly on properties, and we've had no issues since. So making sure you've got a really good conveyancer in your team is absolutely essential. The money back out after refinance then is going to be $86,250 at a loan to value of 75%. Now, what we do is we purchase the properties in cash. So we're purchasing in cash, and then you have a 6-month rule, or more of a guidance then, shall we say. So the guidance is that you don't want to refinance before 6 months. Now, the reason for that is because they're going to look at it a lot more in terms of how much could you realistically done within a 6-month period. That is the kind of issue that you've got, and you might not get as much money, or it might be at a higher rate. So those are things to look out for. If you were looking to refinance earlier after a cash purchase, that's why we leave it 6 months and beyond, to make sure that we've got the right kind of products available on the market, that we can get the best rate and make sure that we can get the most money back out. Then what we do is we look at the money out minus costs and purchase price. So that leaves us with £23,601. Now, this must seem like, potentially magic to some people. And how on earth could you purchase a property, get all your money back out, and make profit? All of that happening. Now, the reason for this is obviously one big factor is the market has moved considerably since the purchase price, even though it wasn't that long ago. This one took a bit longer to get into because our contractor. So we were able to, we're at about the 7 month mark now, so we've got a bit more to go, and I'm going to show that in future videos as well as to how long that's going to take and what things that need to be done based on the last update in this video. But what we're able to do is get no money left in the deal. Now, as I said, not your typical deal whatsoever, and these are very, very hard to come by, let alone no money left in the deal. But to actually pull £23,000 out, that is a massive thing. And that leaves us with an infinite return on the money. So what we're doing is making over 100% return on everything that we invested and everything. But beyond that, so the rental, any capital appreciation, all of that is an added benefit with none of our money left in the deal. So that's the perfect deal that you can come and walk away with, is something like this. And if you were lucky enough to negotiate in a way that works for both yourself and the seller, and in this case, there was a lot of different moving mechanics there that we needed to make sure that were right in order to get this price. But it has worked, and it's made a massive difference in terms of how much we were able to extract from the property as a result. So if you really did like this video, please like and subscribe, as it helps more than you'll ever know. And if you have any questions regarding the numbers, the renovation, anything whatsoever, or even any suggestions you may have for future videos, please comment below and let me know. And I'll see you guys on the next video.